August 31st, 1997, 12:23 a.m., Paris. A black Mercedes S 280 entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel at high speed. Inside were 4 people: Princess Diana, Dodi Fayed, their driver, Henry Paul, and bodyguard Trevor Reese Jones. Only one of them would survive the night. But to understand how we got to this moment, we need to go back. Back to the summer of 1997, back to the Mediterranean, back to what should have been the happiest days of Diana's life, July 1997. Diana was finally free, divorced from Charles, liberated from the suffocating protocols of royal life. Her sons, William and Harry, were growing up. She had her causes, her charities, her independence. For the first time in years, Diana felt like she could breathe. She was 36 years old, still young, still beautiful, still hopeful that happiness might be possible. And then she met Dodi Fayed. Mohammed Al Fayed, the Egyptian billionaire who owned Harrods and the Ritz Paris, had invited Diana and her sons to spend time on his yacht in the south of France. It was meant to be a relaxing family holiday. William and Harry could swim, jet ski, and be normal teenagers away from the British press. Diana could relax. But Mohammed had another plan. He wanted Diana to meet his son, Dodi. Dodi Fayed was 42 years old, a film producer, handsome, charming, and completely smitten with Diana the moment he saw her. He had been engaged to an American model, Kelly Fisher. But when Diana arrived, everything else faded into the background. For Dodi, Diana wasn't just the most famous woman in the world. She was the woman who could validate his entire existence. The first few days on the yacht were innocent. Diana played with her sons. Dodi was polite, attentive, but respectful of boundaries. But then William and Harry left to spend time with their father. And suddenly, Diana and Dodi were alone. The dynamic shifted. What had been a family vacation became something else entirely. A romance. Or at least, something that looked like a romance. The paparazzi who had been following Diana's every move for 16 years went into overdrive. Photos of Diana in a leopard print swimsuit appeared on every front page. Diana and Dodi kissing on the yacht, Diana and Dodi holding hands, Diana looking happier than she'd looked in years. The headline writers had a field day. Diana's new love, the princess, and the playboy. Is Diana finally happy? But here's what the photos didn't show: the complexity, the confusion, the pressure. Diana's friends later revealed that she was unsure about the relationship. Yes, Dodi was attentive. Yes, he showered her with gifts. Yes, he made her feel special. But was it love? Diana herself wasn't sure. She told her friend Rosa Monckton, "He's very sweet, but I need time. I'm not ready to rush into anything." August 1997. Diana and Dodi continued their Mediterranean romance. They travelled from the French Riviera to Sardinia, from yachts to private jets to luxury hotels. Everywhere they went, the paparazzi followed. Dozens of photographers, sometimes hundreds, chasing them on motorcycles, following them in speedboats. The pursuit was relentless, invasive, dangerous. Diana was used to media attention. She'd lived with it for 17 years. But this was different. This wasn't just interest in a royal. This was feeding frenzy. Every photo of Diana with Dodi could sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions. The photographers were literally risking their lives to get the shots. And they were putting Diana's life at risk too. On August 21st, Dodi did something that changed everything. He went to the Retraces jewelry store in Monaco. He looked at engagement rings. He chose one. an emerald-cut diamond. Expensive, impressive. But here's what we don't know. Did Dodi buy that ring for Diana? Or was he just looking? The truth died with him. But the story that emerged was that Dodi was planning to propose, that this Mediterranean summer was leading to something permanent. Diana's reaction to this potential proposal is disputed. Some say she would have said yes, that she was falling in love, that Dodi represented a future free from royal constraints. Others say she would have said no, that she liked Dodi but wasn't ready for marriage, that she was enjoying her freedom too much to give it up so quickly. We'll never know, because Diana never got the chance to answer. August 30th, 1997. Diana and Dodi arrived in Paris. They checked into the Imperial Suite at the Ritz Hotel. Mohammed Al Fayed owned the Ritz. His staff would take care of everything. Dodi had planned a romantic evening, dinner at a restaurant, then back to his apartment. He had told friends he was going to propose that night. He had the ring, he had the plan. He just needed the moment. But the paparazzi made the romantic evening impossible. When Diana and Dodi tried to leave the Ritz for dinner, they were mobbed. Dozens of photographers surrounded their car. Shouting, pushing, cameras flashing, it was chaos. Diana and Dodi retreated back into the hotel. They ate dinner there instead. But the evening was ruined. The photographers had stolen their privacy again. After dinner, Dodi made a decision. They would go to his apartment, but they would trick the paparazzi. They would send a decoy car out the front entrance. Meanwhile, Diana and Dodi would leave through the back entrance in a different car. It seemed like a clever plan, but it required speed. And speed on that night would prove fatal. The driver chosen for this mission was Henry Paul. He was the deputy head of security at the Ritz. He knew Paris well. He was trusted. But here's what Dodi didn't know. Henry Paul had been drinking. His blood alcohol level was later found to be 3 times the legal limit. He was also taking prescription drugs that shouldn't be mixed with alcohol. Henry Paul was in no condition to drive. But no one checked, no one stopped him. And at 12:20 a.m. on August 31st, Henry Paul got behind the wheel of a black Mercedes with Diana and Dodi in the back seat. The car left the Ritz and immediately the paparazzi gave chase. 7 motorcycles, some with photographers, some with just drivers trying to keep up. They pursued the Mercedes through the streets of Paris. Henry Paul drove faster, trying to lose them, 60 miles per hour, then 70, then faster still. The photographers kept pace. This was the shot of a lifetime. Diana and Dodi together, maybe running away together, maybe getting engaged. The photos would be worth a fortune. The Mercedes approached the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. It's a tunnel that runs under the Seine River. A straightforward route, but at high speed it becomes treacherous. Henry Paul entered the tunnel at approximately 65 miles per hour. Too fast, far too fast. He lost control. The car swerved, hit a pillar, spun, crashed. The sound of metal tearing, glass shattering, and then silence. The paparazzi arrived at the crash scene within seconds. But instead of calling for help immediately, several of them started taking photographs. Pictures of the wreckage, pictures of Diana slumped in the back seat, pictures of Dodi's body, pictures of Henry Paul dead behind the wheel. Only Trevor Rees-Jones, the bodyguard, was moving. He was severely injured, but alive. The photographers kept shooting. Click, click, click. Even in death, Diana couldn't escape the cameras. Eventually, someone called emergency services. The ambulance arrived at 12:40 a.m. 17 minutes after the crash. The paramedics found Diana conscious but in critical condition. She had massive internal injuries, crushed chest, torn pulmonary vein. She was bleeding internally. They worked to stabilize her at the scene. In France, the protocol is to treat patients on site before moving them. So the ambulance didn't rush to the hospital. It took its time, trying to keep Diana alive long enough to get proper treatment. The ambulance carrying Diana left the tunnel at 1:41 a.m., more than an hour after the crash. It travelled slowly through Paris, stopping once because Diana's condition deteriorated. Finally, at 2:06 a.m., Diana arrived at Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital. Doctors worked frantically. They opened her chest. They tried to repair the damage. They gave her massive transfusions, but the injuries were too severe. At 4 a.m., they pronounced Princess Diana dead. She was 36 years old. The news spread across the world like wildfire. Diana is dead. The People's Princess is gone, killed in a car crash in Paris. The reaction was unprecedented. Millions of people around the world wept. Total strangers felt like they'd lost a friend, a family member, someone who mattered. The outpouring of grief was extraordinary. In London, people began gathering outside Kensington Palace, leaving flowers, thousands of flowers, then hundreds of thousands, then millions. A sea of flowers stretching as far as the eye could see. But alongside the grief was anger. Anger at the paparazzi who had chased Diana to her death. Anger at a media culture that valued photographs over human life. Anger at a system that had turned Diana's life into a commodity. The photographers who'd been at the tunnel were arrested, charged with manslaughter. The world wanted someone to blame, someone to punish, someone to hold accountable for this senseless death. The truth, as it emerged, was more complicated. Yes, the paparazzi had been chasing Diana, but the crash was caused primarily by Henri Paul's drunk driving. He was going too fast, he was impaired, he lost control. The paparazzi's pursuit didn't help. It created pressure, it created panic. But the ultimate responsibility lay with the driver, and Henri Paul was dead too. He couldn't be held accountable, he couldn't explain his choices, he couldn't apologize. Dodi Fayed died instantly in the crash. He never knew what hit him. His father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, was devastated. He had introduced his son to Diana. He had encouraged the relationship. He had provided the yacht, the hotels, the lifestyle that brought them together. And now his son was dead. Mohammed spent years trying to prove that Diana and Dodi had been murdered, that the crash was orchestrated by British intelligence, that the royal family couldn't allow Diana to marry a Muslim and had her killed. Multiple investigations found no evidence of conspiracy, no proof of murder, just a tragic accident caused by a drunk driver and a culture of media obsession. But Mohammed never accepted these findings. Until his death, he believed his son and Diana were killed. Perhaps believing in a conspiracy was easier than accepting that his son died in a pointless, preventable accident. That all the wealth and privilege in the world couldn't save them. The question that haunted everyone was, what if? What if they'd stayed at the hotel that night? What if they'd used a different driver? What if the paparazzi had shown some restraint? What if Diana had never met Dodi? What if she'd stayed in London that summer? The what-ifs were endless, torturous, unanswerable. But here's the detail that breaks your heart. Diana almost didn't go on that final trip. She had been exhausted. The constant travel, the constant photographers, the pressure of a new relationship. She told friends she needed a break. She wanted to spend time alone with William and Harry. But Dodi had insisted. Come to Paris, just for one night, one romantic evening. Diana had agreed. One night. What harm could one night do? In the days before her death, Diana had been talking to friends about her future. She wanted to focus on her landmine campaign. She wanted to be an ambassador for humanitarian causes. She wanted to be there for her sons as they grew up. She was planning to move to America, possibly, to escape the British press, to start fresh. She was only 36. She thought she had decades ahead of her. Time to rebuild, time to find real happiness, time to live on her own terms. The night before the crash, Diana called her sons at Balmoral. William and Harry were staying with the royal family. Diana missed them. The call was brief. Love you, miss you, see you soon. Those were the last words William and Harry heard their mother say. No goodbyes, no final messages, just the ordinary words of an ordinary phone call, because no one knew it was the last call. Diana's funeral took place on September 6, 1997. 2 billion people watched on television. Westminster Abbey was filled with dignitaries, celebrities, and royals. But the most heartbreaking image was of William and Harry walking behind their mother's coffin. William was 15, Harry was 12. They walked through the streets of London in front of millions of people, cameras recording every moment of their grief. It was what Diana would have hated. Her son's pain turned into a public spectacle. Elton John performed a modified version of Candle in the Wind. Originally written for Marilyn Monroe, he changed the lyrics for Diana. Goodbye, England's Rose. The song captured the world's sense of loss. A bright light extinguished too soon. Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, gave a eulogy that was both tribute and accusation. He spoke of Diana's warmth, her compassion, her struggles, but he also criticised the media and the royal family for their treatment of his sister, for their failure to protect her. The coffin was taken to Althorpe, the Spencer family estate. Diana was buried on a small island in the middle of a lake, private, peaceful, away from the cameras that had pursued her in life. The location is kept secret. The family wants Diana to finally have the privacy she never had while alive. On her grave is a simple inscription: Diana, Princess of Wales, 1961 to 1997. Nothing more, no grand statements, no royal titles, just her name and her years. In the years since Diana's death, the questions have continued. Was Dodi really about to propose? The ring he supposedly bought was never found in the crash. Some say it's at the bottom of the Seine. Others say it never existed. Dodi's friends insist he was in love and ready to commit. Diana's friends say she was fond of Dodi but not ready for marriage. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. Would Diana and Dodi have lasted? Even if they'd survived that night, would their relationship have endured? The summer romance was intense but brief. They'd known each other for only weeks. The pressure of Diana's fame, the complications of blending families, Dodi's playboy reputation, Diana's royal past. There were so many obstacles, but we'll never know. Death froze their relationship in that golden moment of possibility. What we do know is that Diana's final summer was happy. The photos showed genuine smiles, relaxation, joy. After years of unhappiness in her marriage, after the divorce, after the battles with the palace, Diana was finally enjoying life. She was on a yacht in the Mediterranean. She was tan and relaxed. She was being romanced by a wealthy, attentive man. Her sons were doing well. Her charity work was thriving. Life was good. And then it ended. The legacy of that final trip is complicated. On one hand, it showed Diana at her most free, liberated from royal constraints, living life on her own terms. On the other hand, it exposed the dangers of that freedom. Without palace security, without careful planning, with a drunk driver and aggressive paparazzi, Diana's freedom became fatal. Prince William and Prince Harry have both spoken about how their mother's death shaped them. Harry, in particular, has been vocal about his anger at the paparazzi, at the media culture that he believes killed his mother. When he met Meghan Markle and saw her being treated the same way, chased by photographers, vilified by tabloids, he made a decision. History would not repeat itself. He would protect his wife, even if it meant leaving the royal family, even if it meant leaving Britain, even if it meant sacrificing everything. In 2019, Harry stood in the same African country his mother had visited for her landmine campaign. He was emotional as he spoke about her. Everything I do reminds me of her, but what I do is different because she's not here now, and I want to make her proud. His voice broke, the pain of that loss, more than 20 years later, still raw, still present, still shaping his choices. Today, in 2025, nearly 28 years after that fatal crash, the world still mourns Diana. Not the perfect princess of fairy tales, but the real woman, flawed, complicated, brave, vulnerable, a woman who struggled with mental health, who fought against an oppressive system, who loved her children fiercely, who used her fame to help others, who made mistakes, who kept trying, who deserved more time. The summer of 1997 should have been a beginning for Diana. A new chapter. Instead, it was an ending. Cut short in a Paris tunnel at 65 miles per hour. 36 years old, 2 children left motherless, a world of charitable work left unfinished, a life of possibility reduced to memory, all because of a drunk driver, aggressive photographers, and a series of choices that led to tragedy. Here's what haunts everyone who remembers that night. Diana survived the initial impact. She was conscious, talking to rescuers. If the ambulance had arrived faster, if the treatment had been different, if they'd rushed her to the hospital immediately, would she have survived? Medical experts are divided. Some say her injuries were too severe. She would have died no matter what. Others say there was a window, a chance, and it was lost. From Diana's journal, written on August 28, 1997, just 3 days before her death. I'm happy. It's strange to write those words. I've been sad for so long that happiness feels foreign. But here, on this yacht, watching the sunset, I feel peaceful. Maybe this is what life is supposed to feel like. Maybe I've finally found it. Whatever happens next, I want to remember this feeling, this moment, this peace. The last photograph taken of Diana alive shows her and Dodi leaving the Ritz Hotel through the back entrance. Diana is wearing a black blazer. Her head is down, avoiding the cameras. Dodi has his hand on her back, guiding her to the car. Trevor Rees-Jones walks ahead, trying to clear a path. Henry Paul holds the door. In minutes, 3 of these 4 people will be dead. 1 will be catastrophically injured, and the world will change forever. But in this frozen moment, they're just 4 people getting into a car. Ordinary, unremarkable. About to become history's most tragic footnote.